All right, get ready, because today we're diving into something that might just turn your whole financial world upside down. We're talking about the idea that debt can actually be your secret weapon to building wealth.
It definitely goes against what most people think.
Exactly. The source material for this deep dive is a YouTube video. It's called Mastering Debt: How to Make Money in 2024 from the channel WealthWave. Now, I know debt can feel like a four-letter word, but this video really tries to make a case for using it strategically.
Yeah, it presents a really interesting perspective.
We're going to break down the key concepts. We're going to explore some real-world examples, and hopefully you'll walk away with some new ideas about how you can use this often misunderstood tool.
It's definitely something that a lot of people have strong feelings about, but this video really flips the script on how we traditionally view debt. It encourages us not to fear it, but to understand it.
So let's jump right in. The video starts with this analogy of a baker who needs a new oven,
Right.
but they can't afford to buy it up front.
Makes sense.
So they take out a loan, they buy the oven, they bake more bread, which increases their income, and eventually they pay off the loan. Simple.
Right?
Sounds straightforward.
But how does that translate to building real wealth, like actual wealth?
Well, that analogy gets at the core principle. It's about using borrowed capital to acquire assets or make investments that generate a return that's greater than the cost of the debt itself.
So it's not just about taking on any debt. It's got to be strategic. The debt has to be working for you.
Exactly.
But is there really a difference between good debt and bad debt? Or is that just a way to make us feel better about being in debt?
There's definitely a difference. Not all debt is created equal. The key is understanding that. Think of good debt as a seed. You plant it today to grow a money tree tomorrow. It's about using debt to acquire assets that have the potential to increase in value over time.
Okay, that's a helpful image. Can you give me a real-world example? Sure. Let's look at real estate. You could take out a mortgage to buy a rental property. Over time, real estate tends to appreciate, so it's worth more. You also collect rent from the tenants, which can cover your mortgage payments and even make you a profit.
So you're using debt to buy something that's increasing in value and also making you money at the same time. That's starting to sound less like debt and more like a smart investment.
It is. That's exactly the point. You're leveraging good debt to create a win-win situation.
Okay, so what about something like student loans? Is that good debt? It's not a physical asset like a house.
Student loans can be a little more tricky, but they often fall into that good debt category. Think of it this way. You're investing in your education, which is likely to lead to higher earning potential down the road.
So you're essentially using debt to make yourself more valuable in the job market.
Yeah, you increase your earning power.
Makes sense. So it's not just about physical assets, it's also about investing in your skills and knowledge.
Right. And another good example is business loans. Imagine you've got a great business idea, but you need money to get started. Taking out a loan can help you launch your business, buy equipment, hire people. If your business brings in more money than the loan costs, that's good debt.
So in that scenario, you're using debt to make your dreams a reality, potentially creating something that generates wealth for you and for others.
Exactly. It can be a really powerful tool for growth and innovation.
Okay, I'm starting to get how debt can be a valuable tool.
Right.
But what about the flip side? What makes bad debt so bad?
Bad debt doesn't offer a return on your investment. Sometimes it can actually make you poorer over time. Think of those impulse buys on your credit card. You know, the things you didn't really need and end up paying high interest on. That's a classic example of bad debt. It doesn't help you financially in the long run.
So it's not just about how much debt you have, it's about what you're using it for.
Exactly.
Is it helping you build wealth, or is it just digging you deeper into a hole?
Right. And car loans often fall into the bad debt category. While a car can be necessary, cars generally lose value over time. Unlike a house, which usually goes up in value, a car is kind of a liability.
So if you take out a loan for a car, you're borrowing money to buy something that will be worth less in the future.
Yeah, you're not really building wealth there.
So it's all about being smart and making sure the debt you take on is working for you, not against you.
That's a great way to put it.
This whole idea of good debt is exciting. It sounds like there are some really cool strategies for leveraging that good debt to build wealth.
There are. We're going to be talking about things like using mortgages to build a real estate portfolio, leveraging business loans to launch successful companies, and even exploring how student loans can set you up for higher earning potential.
So we're not just talking about theories, we're going to be talking about real-world tactics that anyone can use.
Exactly. The goal is to give you the knowledge and strategies you need to use debt to your advantage. It doesn't matter what your financial background is or what your current situation is, everyone can benefit from this.
This is going to be a game changer for our listeners. I can already tell. We're going to dive deeper into these strategies and show you how you can use debt to create financial freedom. But for now, let's take a quick break.
Sounds good.
All right, welcome back. It's time to roll up our sleeves and really dig into some strategies for using debt to build wealth.
I'm excited to get into the specifics. Let's start with real estate, which is often considered a cornerstone of wealth building.
Okay.
Remember that rental property example from earlier? That's just one way to use debt in the real estate market.
Okay, walk me through this.
Right.
How can someone go from, zero to a real estate mogul using debt as their secret weapon?
First, do your research. Research the real estate market in your area or even other places that have strong rental potential. You want to look for properties that are in good condition, in desirable locations, and reasonably priced.
So it's not just about buying any property. It's got to be a smart investment.
Exactly. Location, condition, price. Those are all key factors to consider. Once you've identified a promising property, you'll need to get a mortgage. This is where things can get interesting. Choosing the right mortgage can make a huge difference in your long-term returns.
So shopping around for the best interest rates and loan terms is really important.
Absolutely. Don't just settle for the first offer you get. Compare different lenders, explore various loan options, and negotiate the best possible terms. A lower interest rate can save you thousands of dollars over the life of the loan.
That makes sense.
Yeah, those small percentage points really add up over time.
Yeah.
Once you have your mortgage and your rental property, the next step is finding tenants.
Okay.
This means screening potential tenants very carefully, setting a fair rental price, and creating a solid lease agreement, one that protects both you and your tenants.
So being a landlord is kind of like running a business too. It's not passive.
You got it. It's hands-on, but the rewards can be significant. As your rental income comes in, you're going to use that to cover your mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, and, any repairs or maintenance.
And ideally, you'll have money left over. That's where the magic happens, right?
Exactly. That extra money could be reinvested into more properties or paying down your mortgage faster, maybe even diversifying your investments. It's how you build that real estate portfolio, the kind that can generate wealth and passive income for years.
It's like a snowball effect. You start with one property, leverage the income, and then just keep building from there.
Precisely. And another great thing about real estate is that it's a tangible asset, right? You can see it, you can touch it, something a lot of people take pride in and find security in.
Okay, I'm definitely seeing the possibilities here. What about using debt for business ventures?
Yeah, whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, using debt can be a game changer for your business. One common strategy is taking out a business loan. It can help cover startup costs, buy equipment, or expand your operations.
So it's about using debt to help you get things off the ground when you might not have enough capital to do it on your own.
Exactly. But just like with real estate, you need a solid plan. Before you approach lenders, develop a comprehensive business plan. Outline your revenue projections, your expenses, and your repayment strategy.
So lenders want to see that you've thought through the details and have a realistic path to success.
Right. Lenders want to see that you're a responsible borrower and that your business has the potential to generate enough income to repay the loan.
That makes sense. They want to minimize their risk.
Exactly. Once you secure that loan, the focus shifts to generating revenue and growing the business. That might involve marketing, hiring talented employees, expanding your product line, streamlining operations, all those things.
So it's about taking that initial investment, that debt, and really turning it into a thriving business, one that generates wealth for you and your investors.
Exactly. That's the spirit. And as your business grows and your profits increase, you can use that income to pay down a loan, maybe reinvest for further expansion, or even take some dividends for yourself. You're the business owner.
So it's a virtuous cycle of growth, fueled by smart debt management and building a successful business.
That's a great way to put it. And what's cool about using debt for business ventures is it lets you scale things up much faster than you could with just your savings.
Makes sense. It can turbocharge your business growth.
Precisely. But remember, use it responsibly. Don't take on more debt than you can actually handle.
So it's all about finding that balance, that sweet spot between growth and responsible debt management.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about another area where you can leverage debt. Personal investments.
Okay, this is getting interesting. Real estate, businesses, now personal investments. How can someone use debt to amplify their returns?
There are a couple of key strategies. One approach is called margin trading. This is where you borrow money from your broker to buy more securities than you could afford with your own cash.
So it's like you're borrowing money to make more money.
Exactly. But it does magnify both gains and losses. It's higher risk, higher reward.
Yeah, gotta be comfortable with that volatility.
You definitely do. You need a strong understanding of the risks and a solid risk management strategy.
Makes sense. Not for everyone.
Right, it's a more advanced strategy. Another approach is using a personal loan to invest in a diversified portfolio, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. This can be good for people who want to boost their investment returns, but maybe aren't ready for the risks of margin trading.
So it's a way to potentially speed up your investment growth, but with a lower risk profile.
Exactly. But no matter what strategy you choose, whether it's real estate, business, personal investments, the key principles for leveraging debt effectively stay the same.
Okay, let's recap those principles. What are the golden rules for using debt wisely?
First, always know the difference between good and bad debt. Good debt is used for investments, things that have the potential for returns exceeding the cost of the debt itself. Bad debt is usually for things that lose value, depreciating assets or just stuff you consume.
So you gotta be mindful of where your borrowed money is going and make sure it's working for you.
Exactly. Second, you got to have a financial plan. It's your roadmap, right? It outlines your income, your expenses, your debt, your investment strategy. Make sure your debt fits into that overall plan.
So it's about being intentional with your debt, not just letting it happen randomly.
Right. Third, be careful about over-leveraging. Debt can be a powerful tool, but use it in moderation. Don't take on more than you can handle. Find that balance between leveraging and staying within your comfort zone.
So don't get in over your head.
Right. And fourth, you always have to plan for risks. Life happens, things don't always go according to plan. What if interest rates jump up? What if you lose your job? What if you have an unexpected expense?
So have a backup plan. Be prepared for those what-if moments.
Exactly. Have an emergency fund. Have a plan B. And finally, be patient and persistent. Building wealth takes time and effort. It doesn't happen overnight. Stay focused on your goals, manage your debt well, and over time, you'll start to see results.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. But even when we understand the concept of good debt, those monthly payments, they can still feel stressful. How do you recommend dealing with that emotional side of being in debt?
That's a great point. The emotional impact of debt is often overlooked, but it's so important. One way to overcome that stress is to create a clear repayment plan and really stick to it. Knowing that you're actively reducing your debt can help you feel more in control, and that can reduce anxiety.
So taking action is key. It's better than just feeling overwhelmed and doing nothing.
Exactly. Another important thing is to communicate. Talk to your family, friends, maybe a financial advisor. Share your concerns, get support. You're not alone in this.
So breaking the silence around debt can really be helpful. It can help you feel less isolated, less ashamed.
Exactly. And if you need help, don't be afraid to seek professional guidance. Financial therapists, credit counselors, they can provide support that's tailored to your situation.
So there are resources out there to help us navigate the ups and downs of managing debt.
There are. And lastly, remember to celebrate your successes. Every time you pay off a credit card, hit a savings goal, or make a big dent in your student loan, acknowledge that. Celebrate it. Focus on those small victories. They'll keep you motivated and remind you that you're moving in the right direction.
Okay, so having a plan, getting support, focusing on the positive, these are all crucial. But what about those potential losses? How can we make sure that using debt to build wealth doesn't backfire?
That's a really important question, and it leads us into a very important part of our discussion. Let's talk about the potential downsides of using debt and what you can do to make sure it doesn't become a burden.
Welcome back. We've been on quite a journey, haven't we? Exploring this whole idea of debt and how it can actually be a tool to build wealth.
It's definitely a thought-provoking concept, one that a lot of people might not be familiar with.
We've debunked some myths, uncovered some hidden truths, and even heard from folks who've successfully used debt to achieve financial freedom. But now it's time to bring it all home.
Yeah, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How can our listeners actually use this information to improve their own financial lives?
That's the million-dollar question. We've talked a lot about theory and concepts, but what are the tangible things people can do, like right now, to start putting these strategies into action?
All right, so first things first, you got to take a good hard look at your own finances. Figure out where you stand, what's your income, what are your expenses, do you have any debt already, and most importantly, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve?
So it's about having that self-awareness, understanding your starting point before you can start mapping out a plan.
Exactly. Once you've got a clear picture of your finances, you can start looking for opportunities. Where could strategic debt help you reach those goals faster? Let's say you've got some high-interest credit card debt. Maybe you could consolidate that into a lower-interest loan and save yourself some money.
That makes sense.
Or let's say you're renting but you're dreaming of owning a home. It might be time to explore some mortgage options and start building some equity.
So it's about being proactive, not just settling for your current situation, but looking for ways to improve it.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to think outside the box either. Maybe you've got a side hustle that you're really passionate about. Could a small business loan help you turn that passion into a full-fledged business?
So it's about seeing debt not as something to be afraid of, but as a potential catalyst for growth and opportunity.
That's a great way to put it. Of course, navigating the world of debt can be tricky, especially if you're doing it for the first time. Don't be afraid to reach out for guidance.
Yeah, who are some of the people that listeners could turn to for help?
Talk to a financial advisor. Do some research online. Find some people who've used debt successfully to build wealth. There's so much knowledge out there, and you don't have to figure it all out on your own.
It's like building a financial support team. Surround yourself with people who can provide insights and encouragement along the way.
Exactly. But maybe even more important than finding the right people is shifting your mindset.
Hmm.
We're taught to think about debt as this big, scary thing, something to avoid at all costs. But as we've seen, it can actually be a powerful tool.
It's about changing that narrative, flipping the script, seeing debt not as a burden, but as an opportunity.
That's the key. It's not about being reckless or irresponsible with debt, but about using it intentionally and strategically to create the life you want.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
The most important thing to remember is that wealth isn't just about money or possessions. The most valuable asset you have is your mindset, your willingness to learn and grow and adapt.
It's about having that growth mindset, that belief that you can achieve your goals.
Exactly. So cultivate that growth mindset, challenge your assumptions, and never stop exploring new ways to improve your financial well-being. The world of finance is constantly changing, and the opportunities are endless if you're willing to learn and adapt.
Be curious, be open-minded, and don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. The possibilities are out there.
And remember, the journey to financial freedom isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep making those smart financial decisions.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of debt and wealth building.
It's been a pleasure. We hope you found it valuable.
We'll catch you next time on the